miss our childhood memories. I miss how we would just sit at the dinner table and tell stories.
That makes me.
And I remember sometimes the lights would go off and my younger brother, you know who you are, he would take my meat, from my plate. Yeah, he was.
What is his name again?
His name is Onesimus.
Onesimus, I hope you see this.
I also have another brother, Eric, who was too little at the time to remember these things. But I just enjoy how we would interact as kids and just tell jokes. It's amazing just how happy we were, even without, in context, looking back, even without much, right?
Yeah.
But we were very happy and content.
Hello there, YouTube family. Welcome back to another episode of Distance Bonds, where we explore the intricacies of maintaining love across borders. My name is Liz Macau. In today's episode, we are going to do something different. I know when we shared our foundation of our YouTube channel, we talked about long distance relationship, and we went ahead and explained that we have different types of long distance relationship. What we have been doing in our previous episodes is talking about our love long distance relationship. Today, we are going to focus more on the unique journey of familial long distance relationship. And guess what? Today, I have someone with me, has a very special guest who is going to share her story, her experiences, and even her insights and the wisdom that she gained along the experiences that she got in a familial long distance relationship. Let's hear the. So Julie, welcome to the show. How are you feeling today?
Oh my goodness, Liz, I'm feeling so excited and also very thankful for you having me here today. Number one, I want to say that I love what you're doing with this show because the topic of relationships is definitely something that we need to learn and to hear other people's stories so that we can learn and be inspired by it. So I am so thankful to be here. But also the most amazing reason that I'm happy to be here is because I admire you so much.
Thank you.
And so it's an honor for me to be invited on your show as your first guest. So thank you.
And I'm glad you're here today with us. We can't wait to hear from you.
Thank you.
Okay, could you please start by introducing yourself to our viewers?
Yeah, absolutely. So like Liz said, my friend here, Liz said, my name is Julie and I'm 35 years young. I know a lot of people don't like to talk their age, but because the last 35 years of my life have been full of learning and growth, I'm actually proud of aging because it's come with a lot of wisdom. And besides that, I am married to one husband, should I say. And we have a lovely 3-year-old son. So I'm thankful for that. And that's my family background.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, that's good to learn about you. So let's talk about what you're going to be exploring today, familial long distance relationship.
Yeah.
Can you share how that came to happen?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a very relevant topic. I think number one for a lot of people in the diaspora, because if they are in the diaspora, it means that they left home, which for me, home is Kenya in the first place. And for me, I came to America when I was only 18. I had not even turned 18 years. So I had just come out of high school. And I think I was in Kenya for a year and a half after completing high school. And then I came here, which actually it's so wild to think about it because I'm the first person in my village to have gone to America. And now I know so many people from my village. I'm not ashamed to say I'm from a village. I'm a country girl. So that is my story. I came here at almost 18. And so you can imagine for the last 17 years, actually half my life I have spent here. It's been about navigating different waters, as you can imagine. But it's been a journey that I'm thankful for because it's really helped me to grow as a person.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned that you are the very first person from your village to come here in the US. I'd like to know, did you know anyone from anyone from home now, live alone from your village, but someone from home, or how did you come here? Was it through green card or?
I came here as an international student. I do have neighbors who had won a green card. Actually, sorry, I have to rephrase that. I was in the first person,
Okay.
but they had won a green card and immigrated to the US.
Okay.
And so I knew that they were here, but I wasn't coming to them. So I was going straight to school. I came here as an international student. And so it was very different experience because also I had no one to guide me because again, like I said, I didn't know many people who had come here as students that I could ask advice from. And so I ended up in Idaho, which is like the remotest state you can think of.
I know.
So there I had quite some interesting experiences that I look back on now and just laugh.
Yeah, the reason is why I asked you about you having to know anyone from home. It's because I know most people struggle with the host, like someone who's going to host them.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to know if you experienced that.
I will say that I was lucky because when I came through the school program, the school connected me with a host. So I had to pay a monthly rent fee to them directly, but they kind of had this deal with the school so that the international students could pay for a room to stay at a house or at their place. So we were actually 2 students at the time living in her house. And the only bad experience right now, knowing what I know now, is that she actually really overcharged us. She was charging us in 2008 $500 each for one small bedroom.
Yeah, for sure.
And we still had to buy our own food. So that was not a good thing on her part. But again, she was a businesswoman, so she was in good business.
Wow. That's interesting. Considering you guys were students and you were not working. Yeah. Well, and how did you navigate communication or the challenges that comes with long distance? Because I understand you came here by yourself. Mom was back home. Family members were back home. Like how were you able to navigate that, especially the challenges that come in with time zones and time differences?
That's a great question. So number one, it was tough because when I came here, it's like my Kenyan phone stopped working because you have to have a certain type of phone that you can then buy a SIM card, right? So not having a phone in the first place to be able to even call my parents and my siblings and tell them that I arrived safely. Number one, the psychological distress that it imposes on you is so much. But I had a good host. Other than overcharging us, she was good. She would let me borrow her phone. And then I would call home and just let them know that I'm fine because my parents were very concerned how I'm doing and did I arrive safely. Can you imagine your child going to another country and you don't even know if they got there safely?
I can imagine.
So borrowing my host's phone, but then also email. So my mom had told me, hey, Julie, it's good to, to just ensure that you have my email address. And at the time, like, email was so archaic,
I know.
So it was a big deal. So I had written all these contacts down, like email addresses. And so that's how we communicated, especially in the beginning. And then very soon I was able to get a phone and to be able to call constantly. But that initial distress had quite an impact. But then it also made me appreciate the power of being connected and the people in my life, because you can have them one day and the next day they are gone.
For sure.
Or you lose contact with them. It's very scary.
So how about how long have you stayed here? Like, did you go home like after school, or how long have you been?
I would go to visit. It's been a while since I've visited, but the first time I visited, I think it was 2 years into being here. And then after 3 or 2 years again, so like that. But I haven't been to Kenya in a while. I do look forward to visiting so that my family can meet my parents and my extended family and my siblings.
So just the other day I was talking about like I left Kenya too, like 5 years ago. And I'm really looking forward to go back home and see my siblings. But hey, So I just feel like whenever I talk to my siblings or my mom, dad, I always feel like there's a disconnection somewhere. You know, I left when our younger one was in high school. Right now, she's almost done with college. And like every time we talk, I'm always like, she doesn't sound the way she used to be. She seems mature now. She seems, you know, is that like, do you feel the disconnection that comes along with being far from your loved ones?
I think, Liz, thank you for being very honest about that, because I think it's a topic that many people are not courageous enough to even acknowledge. But it does happen, and I have felt it, and actually continue to feel it. And I think it's almost inevitable, because when you are, number one, thousands of miles away, I don't even know if it's hundreds of thousands of miles, but that, number one, is physical distance. And then also there's a psychological impact. You know, like I've noticed, I don't know what your experience is, but when you move from one state to another. Even in the US, yes, your friends, they feel like a psychological disconnect too. It's like you've left them. So you can imagine
and
being
yourself
in
too.
Yeah. So you can imagine being in a different country altogether. So it's not only the physical distance, but also the emotional connection and the psychological disconnect, because number one, the time difference. Number one, it makes it so hard to like communicate on a regular basis, because even when you want to and you're willing to do it, just that the time difference, like it's nighttime. When it's nighttime here, they're waking up, they're going to work, they're getting ready, maybe they have kids, and the same for us. So when you flip the two, it becomes very tough if you're not intentional. But then I also think the experiences we have in the US or in other countries, I'll talk to the US because that's the only country I have lived in besides Kenya, is that your experiences are different. The culture is different.
Yes.
You approach things differently. There are certain boundaries or things you can't talk. Like in Kenya, and I love Kenya and I love Kenyan culture. Because we take for granted a lot of things that you can't just do here.
Yes.
Like we have to be very conscious of the way we talk to people and approach other people or even other communities. Like we cannot be stereotyping people. That's not right. Not only is it not right, but it's also by law, you know, not allowed here. But in Kenya, that's normal. So there's that cultural disconnect where people might think maybe they are being funny, joking, connecting, but really it's annoying you. Because you've come to live by different cultural standards, because that's where you live, right? So things like that, it's just the minor things that can quickly become big things and cause miscommunication.
Of course.
Yeah.
And did you find it challenging to, you know, like you talked about, like the differences, especially the cultural differences? Did you find it difficult, like trying to have them from Kenya understand you? For example, I know there are things that we do over here that they really don't, you know, like the other time I was talking to my mom and I'm mentioning some stuff and she's like, we don't do that here, you know. So how did you navigate, like just like having them or explaining that to them and just having them on board with you and understand you're in a different country, you're in a different culture, and they are in a different country, in a different culture?
Oh, thank you. That's a great question. And I think the miscommunication definitely plays a part in it, because their truth may not align with your truth. So number one, I try to assume good intent, even when people are, I hope, unintentionally saying hurtful things, because that's what they know. And I have gone through a lot of deep healing work for myself, because that's what I have had to do on my path. And I have come to realize, you know, like we pass unconscious biases to our kids or extend them even to our spouses. Like even with my husband, there are things I would do and it was not intentional. It's because that's what I grew up maybe seeing around me and my environment. But was it healthy? No. Did I do it to hurt him intentionally? No, I would not do that because I love him. But he viewed it, as offensive because the way he has grown up, they respect, and now I respect those boundaries,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Which may not have been respected when we were growing up. So little things like that.
Wow. So I'm thinking about milestones. Milestones that we go through. We do have graduations. We have, like, you have gone to school, you graduated, right? Did you invite mom over? Did you invite anyone over?
I'm glad you asked, but I feel so bad because I have gone through some milestones in life. I went to school for a bachelor's and I graduated and I invited them, but I don't know, I don't have control over the American visa embassy. I don't know how they make decisions.
Yeah.
They were denied, and I had actually invited a friend's friend from Germany, and she was granted a visa, which raises questions how they make decisions, which it's not up to me to comment on that, but it just felt unfair. And then I went back to school and got my master's, and I invited my family again, and they got denied. And then lo and behold, I got married. I invited them again, and my family, if you can see this, don't feel bad. It's normal to be denied a visa. I know it's very frustrating, but that's what happened because I invited them and they were denied a visa. So
for your wedding?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But I had we invited 3 different other people and they came. So I take it as God's purpose.
I know. Yeah.
Because I have no control over it, but it is something that I would really have loved for my dad to walk me down the aisle.
I know.
I've always been his little girl. So that. And also I would have loved to see my siblings come to my wedding, which didn't happen. So joyous, momentous occasions like those. And those are the good occasions. On the flip side, you lose family members, you lose people you love, and sometimes you're not able to travel to go to the funeral because of other commitments. Living in America is tough. Sometimes even missing 2 weeks of work can really mess a lot of other things. So things like that. And so that creates a disconnect even with other family members because you're not there for their important moments, right? So to your point, I truly see you and I understand.
I know. Yeah. I just remembered my first Christmas over here.
Yeah.
The first year I came here in June 2019, and the very first Christmas, honestly, I was super emotional.
Yeah.
Because back home, we have get together. We get to see our cousins or extended families and all that.
Yeah.
So I felt that loneliness during then. And remember, Christmas here is now, it's an holiday, yes.
Yeah.
But my husband is a nurse, so he was to work on that day.
Oh, wow.
So I'm just in the house with my daughter. Remember, I don't know much about US that time. So we were just lonely in the house, and I'm like, I miss home.
Yeah.
That was just few months after I left, but that's when it hit differently, that I am no longer close to my my family members and all that. So, and that's why I was so glad meeting you, and you shared your story, and I was like, I think I'm gonna learn something from you.
Yeah.
Again, I am about to graduate in a month's time, and I would love my parents to be here, but that's the same thing that is happening.
Yeah.
I didn't get lucky enough to have them over here, and I was just thinking about it, and I'm like, am I the only one going through this? Do people experience this? And the fact that you just came and shared your story, and you just came and shared about your bachelor's, all the milestones that you had to go through without your family members here.
Yeah.
That kind of, gives me some strength, and, just to go about those milestones, knowing that, I believe that one day, one time, God's plan is the best. And I believe that one day, one time, they're going to be here. It doesn't matter, if it's through the visa or any, I don't know. I know something is going to happen, and God is going to make a way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you. Can I cut you short for a little bit? Thank you for sharing your Christmas story. I think we have very similar stories because my first Christmas, oh my goodness, it was the worst Christmas of my life. I can say that. And if I think about it deeply enough, it brings tears to my eyes because of how sad it is. Because like I said earlier, I was living with a host family. But then within a span of like those 4 months, because I came in August, it's fall.
yeah.
And when you live in Kenya in August, it's hot, and you just when you have no one advising you or not a fellow Kenyan hosting you, like you don't know some of
What
these
to expect.
things.
Yeah,
You don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
So I had brought like more of summer light clothes, and how little did I know that winter is really bad in Idaho. And so it would snow really hard and get very cold. And I was never used to the cold. And so what happened is I had met this lady from a church that I would go, and she had been a missionary to Kenya. And she introduced me to her friends. She was like a nurse, and her husband was an orthopedic surgeon. They were definitely doing very well, and they would go on these expeditions to Kenya, South Africa, all that good stuff. And so they were, I'm wanting to stress that they were doing very well financially, very wealthy, right? And it's because I have a point on that. So on around Christmas time, she threw this big party with her friends. It wasn't a Christmas party, it was just a party. And she talked to them about how she met this kid from Kenya and she needs some clothes and can they help? And also, could someone host me? Because I'm an international student and she wants to help. Anyway, her friends, number one, the reason I was heartbroken is that none of her wealthy friends even offered to help. But this is what they did. The following morning, they brought their old used clothes to donate to me. And I looked at these clothes and I can never forget the feeling of, wow, is this how it feels to be seen as this poor African kid that needs help, but not actually help them. But it's like bringing their trash to you. Like, I never felt so low in my life. That was definitely the worst Christmas. You can imagine I was new to America and I trashed those clothes in the garbage can. That's how bad they were. Like, even my pride with nothing could not allow me to wear them. Although I have to say I'm hard-headed. But it taught me something about how the world works. Like, it's not fair. And I talk about money in my channel, but that is part of a deep-seated, like, emotional trigger, like just that experience from that Christmas. And I thought I should share with you because, man, that was bad.
I know. Oh my goodness.
Man.
And I would say that is part of the challenges that we are talking about, especially when you come from home to here. And how were you able to face, or how were you able to navigate such challenges?
On the financial part, I have to say I was so thankful because I learned through my student advisor that I could apply to a president's scholarship. And with this one, if you were top 1% of your class, you could get. So I applied and I got it. And so number one, when I came to school, I only had 50% of the fees. So the scholarship was huge enough to be able to clear my fees and also to allow me to have just a little bit left to share with my family and also get a phone and some warm clothes. So that helped. But I have to say, I don't even know, looking back, how I was surviving. I think I was just living, not even day to day, like hour to hour. Like, If I'm alive and okay in the next hour, we can figure out the other one.
I think God always has everything planned for you.
Yeah.
I know, like I was just saying,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes if God tells you this is what is going to happen to you in the next week,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you would have asked God, no, I don't want to see that day,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But He knows our tomorrow, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm glad you're here. And
Yeah.
you know, at the end of it all, looking back, you can, you know, you can testify of His deeds in your life.
Absolutely.
Yes. So were you sharing with mom all these struggles? Were you able to, you know, just be open and you know, share with her what you were going through during those times?
Mm-hmm. I think I would pick and choose what to share, because also part of me, because I'm a firstborn, I have a very protective nature for my family, you know. And so at the time, the way I saw it, maybe I would do it differently today, because perhaps she would have shared some wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's hard to understand when you're in Kenya and someone is in the US, because the experiences are completely different.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I was thinking about it is, she can give me good advice in her opinion.
Yes.
But it may not necessarily apply in
Mm-hmm.
my situation.
Yeah.
And she would not have known of my situation because she's not here. Like,
Yeah.
the context
Mm-hmm.
is lacking.
Yeah.
And then also a part of me was like, I don't want to bother them. I don't want them to be stressed. I don't want them to
'cause
think
you are
I'm suffering.
1,000 miles away
Yes.
from them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking about, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, venting. You just want to vent.
Yeah.
Did you have friends? Did you have
Mm-hmm.
because there's that judgment of
Yeah.
maybe they're not going to understand.
Yeah.
The people from home, maybe
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to understand and all that.
Yeah.
But sometimes I feel like sharing,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the people that are close to you, not physically close, but close to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it helps
Yeah.
a lot. So
I think I had my moments where the burden would be too heavy that I had to vent, like you said, to use the word vent. Did I have close friends in Idaho? No. I was the only Kenyan, and it's hard to explain. And my husband understands this, because of my upbringing. There are things that he may lack context for, that even if I vented about them to him, it may not even help, because the context is so different, right? So that cultural barrier, number one. And also by nature, I always kept to myself. It's just that I have gotten out of my shell in recent years, maybe in the last 2 years. But I've always kept to myself, and have always been a very discreet person.
wow.
So it would naturally have been very hard, even assuming I had friends, to share.
So being the firstborn, I would like to know your relationship with your siblings back in Kenya and now. Yeah, like I know you all grew up together, right? So how was it affected? Yes, I know it was affected because you're not close to them. So I'd like to know, like, how is it now, and comparing to back then?
Yeah. I miss our childhood memories. I miss how we would just sit at the dinner table and tell stories.
That makes me.
And I remember sometimes the lights would go off, and my younger brother, you know who you are, he would take my meat, from my plate. Yeah, he was.
What is his name again?
His name is Onesimus.
Onesimus, I hope you see this.
I also have another brother, Eric, who was too little at the time to remember these things. But I just enjoy how we would interact as kids and just tell jokes. It's amazing just how happy we were, even without, in context, looking back, even without much, right?
Yeah.
But we were very happy and content.
Do you miss that?
I do.
Well,
I do.
But you guys do communicate, right?
Yes, we do communicate. It's a little harder now, like I said, with the time zones, but we do try to be especially on my part, because I can't control other people, what they do, but at least I can make a goal for myself and be intentional about it and keep that promise, because you cannot always count on other people to do the same. They do try their best, but I feel like as the firstborn, to your point, it's like I am setting the example for
Exactly.
what a healthy
Yeah.
relationship should be, right?
Yeah. Because sometimes for me, I had some moments when I would just think, sit down and think, like, I know I do look for them, like most of the time. I am calling my brother, I am calling my sister, I'm calling like mom, I'm calling like everyone.
Yeah.
And sometimes we would just go for like 4 days without them talking to me. Like I am the only one who reaches out. So sometimes I would just sit down and start thinking about it. And I'm like, why did they forget about me, or like what is happening? But then again, as you've said, being the firstborn, I am the secondborn in our family, but the firstborn girl in our family. So I am like kind of their mom. So I don't find any difficulties like trying to talk to them or understanding them. Because it takes a lot, it takes a lot as a firstborn.
It does. And I truly understand your sentiment about reciprocity, because even as firstborns, obviously everyone wants to feel wanted and missed and loved. So I do understand the need for other people to really express that they care about you and maybe not just call you when they need something, right? I think we all have an innate human desire to love and to be loved. But for me, I think what keeps me grounded, no matter what, is that I decide what am I in control of. Because Liz, I can't control you, but I can control and condition my mind to think in a certain way or to see a situation differently, even when it's a hurtful situation. So I have learned many tricks along the way to trick my brain to turn a negative situation into a positive, because I only choose positivity for me. And I cannot control what other people decide to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I know there's some kind of void that you just explained, you felt about your siblings and how close you used to be back home. I would like to know how how you handled that feeling, especially feeling of loneliness, right? Because that kicks in sometimes.
Loneliness is real, and let me tell you, it can lead to rabbit hole of so many things, including depression. And I don't know the exact person who said this, but it's a scientist. He proved that loneliness is the largest cause of like suicide, because as humans, we are actually hardwired to connect with other people. And so you can imagine social isolation, even not just from family members, especially family members, because they mean so much, right?
To you,
But even social isolation, like even by friends, or not even a simple thing as not even getting invited to a party and you find about it, like it leads to a certain void and a sense of isolation, which can be harmful. And so the way I navigate around that is because I'll be honest, I actually really enjoy spending time with myself now, because a long time ago, I used to be the life of the party, like a lot of friends, but they're really not friends, it's acquaintances. But I was very lonely. Actually, that time when I seemed like I had so many friends was the loneliest time of my life. And now that I cherish my me moments, I am so much happier. Like it never goes away completely.
I know.
Some days you
sometimes
feel lonely,
it doesn't.
right?
Yeah, it does kick.
But on most days, I feel like content, I feel happy, I feel connected. But I think the main contributor, because I know you're gonna ask this.
Yeah, that was my next
is my
question.
relationship with God, because I feel like I
very
am
important.
most lonely when I am disconnected from my source, my God. And so just knowing that, okay, God got me. I am invincible. It doesn't matter what other people's opinion of me are. I am the daughter of a king. I think it helps me to navigate that. Yeah.
Wow. So we have a lot of people coming in or migrating to United States or even other different countries like Canada and all that. And day in, day out, they are coming, and I know they are facing similar challenges. What advice or what word do you have for them?
in order for me to give advice, I have to go back and in my process and ask, what would I have appreciated when I came here? Number one, I would have loved to
time with
family.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I would have loved to be able to communicate with my family, let them know that I got here safely. So my advice is, if they can get a good phone, which when you come here, you can buy a SIM card or a cheap month-to-month plan.
Yeah.
But at least you have the phone, because the phone is the most expensive part of it. That is one. So maintaining a means of communication. If you don't have a phone, there's free Wi-Fi at the airport or at coffee shops, libraries. That's something else that took me a long time to know.
Yeah.
Public libraries.
Yeah.
Like, you can actually go there and spend all day on the computer, just maybe doing research if you're in a situation where you don't have a job yet, or you're not going to school.
Yeah.
So that's a great resource. And if you want to improve your English, this is something else I would have appreciated. They have free programs at the library where you can do that. Also, on the topic of libraries, because when you're living with a host, I mean, you'll agree with me, privacy is not a thing. Like, you cannot just be honest. You can't call your family or your spouse or, people you want to discuss intimate things with. Or things that you don't want to be publicly advertised. So just that aspect of knowing you can go to a public library and even book a conference room for free for even a couple hours and be able to talk and be loud, without fear that you're not being discreet. I think that's good to know. It's a very small thing, but it can make a big difference. The other thing I would do, which I did not do when I was coming here, would research the weather. It's different in every state you go. So it might be sunny. It might be sunny in one state and snowing heavily in another one. So I would research the state I'm going to, and what the weather is like, and even the seasons, the cycles, so that you can plan accordingly in terms of your luggage, because it's a balancing act. You don't want to carry so much stuff that it becomes a burden when you're moving from connection flight to connection flight, because that can be very inconvenient. Personally, I would rather check in all my baggage if I'm traveling for the first time. That way you're not having to worry about reading the screen and knowing where to go, which gate to go. And you can just be flexible. As I wind up on this, I will also say, find a community of people that you can relate with.
Very important.
Knowing what I know now, I would prefer going to a state that is diverse. We appreciate all people from all walks of life. But when you're new in a country, you want especially people who will understand you. So that when you tell them that you really miss ugali and matumbo, they can
understand.
Relate.
And they can relate with you. Wow. So that's very important. In fact, like I feel educated by especially that point that you made.
Can I mention one last thing?
Yes, please. Please.
For
take
women, also just plan accordingly with female hygiene products, because it's something that's easy to overlook. Because when you're traveling, the cycle can change. This has happened to me before. Not too much information, but once you get on a plane, things change, because that's how beautifully God created us women. So that is something to keep in mind.
Okay. And in terms of keeping family close, what other strategies would you advise?
Besides having the phone when you come here, also if you can have a backup means of communication. If you don't have a laptop or don't want to carry one on your person, they offer, like I said, free resources at the library. And then also a lot of churches here, they do have programs, actually good to know, for new people immigrating into the US. I did not know this. They have like a department in a church. I would go to their website before coming here, get acquainted with the website, see what communities or what churches have those programs that support immigrants, because number one, they give them new, not used clothes, food.
Is that really necessary?
Yes, it is, because you know it hurt me so much, man. Yes,
I can tell.
Yes. Make sure they're new.
It's so funny. Thank you.
Yes. And then also some churches are so kind as to connect you with the host family for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's good to know for sure.
Mhm.
New clothes, not old.
New clothes. Don't take those feel mercy on me clothing. That
I didn't expect you to mention that, but it seems
that
like
is
it hurt
traumatic.
you so
But then,
much.
do you know that's traumatic?
For sure,
It can really bring down your esteem, man.
I mean, those were your first days over here, and some of the experiences can be crazy, right?
Like I think one of the sweaters belonged to the woman's grandma for sure.
Julie.
It was a sweater dress because it was also so long.
That for sure hurt you. Okay, wow. Well.
Mhm.
Honestly, I know I do have a story, but I think this is why that's why it's important to have different people talk about their stories, because as I said, we do have stories, but we all have different stories. We all have different experiences. Because to me, coming here, I came through my husband, a spouse visa. So some of these things you guys are talking about, you know, being
he never got you a sweater dress? You're missing out, girl. Okay.
I don't. That's why I'm here to share my story, because I know it's different from yours, and I'm gonna have someone else give a different story. And if this is how it's gonna be, I wanna do it. Like, it's like, I know it's educative, but it's like I'm getting entertained.
I think
for
we
sure.
need this. This is good.
It's needed for sure. Yeah, because I feel like it's a kind of healing. Yeah, because when you talk about some of the things that hurt you, or some of the things that you experienced before, you wouldn't like sharing them. I feel like it's a process. It's a process of healing. It's a healing process. And thank you so much for sharing it, and thank you so much for being open.
Thank you.
I sometimes I would get scared mentioning them. I'd be like, what if she hears what I shared?
It's definitely
healing.
And that's how to heal.
Yes. And I feel like that's how healing comes through. Yeah. Okay, Julie, I want you to look at that camera. Talk to mom, talk to everyone in your family, your siblings, and everyone that was super close to you and they are not close to you over here. So I want you to say something to them.
Wow. Thank you. Don't make me cry now. How do I start? I'm going to go from top to bottom, the way we know it, the family order. You start with a dad. And then the mom, and then the siblings. So my dad and my siblings are in Kenya. I want to say thank you, Dad. I have always been your little girl. I will always be your little girl. And so I'm so thankful for you. And I have learned so much from you, even when you're so far away. I just want you to know that I love you. My mom, thank you so much for giving me life. I really appreciate you. I know that as women in our family, we are setting new heights, that maybe our grandmothers didn't know of. So I want to tell you that I am so proud of you, and we will keep setting new heights for future generations. My siblings, thank you for listening to me as your elder sibling. Sometimes I can't believe that I'm the elder sibling because I'm so silly, but thank you for your respect. I love you, and I hope that I'm chatting the way for you in a good way and setting an example, even for our children going forward. I know we have been through ups and downs, but that's part of life. It's every family, and I'm so proud of you. I love you, and continue believing in yourselves. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. That's so powerful. I hope mom, dad, and everyone in your family listens to this and gets to, they say internet that does not forget. So I know they gonna watch this, and I know they're gonna learn something
Yeah.
from you as
Yeah.
their big sis.
Mhm.
Wow, Julie, thank you so much for coming. We have learned a lot, and we hope to have you again. I know we have a lot to talk about. I know we have a lot to share, so we're looking forward to have you in the show again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you for having me. You're such an amazing host.
Thank
I can't
you.
believe it's your first time. You're just a natural. I really believe you're meant for this. I
Thank you
wish
so
you
much.
continued growth
Thank
and
you.
that your channel continues to grow and continue to impact many people, because this is a topic that a lot of people need to hear. Sometimes it's hard to talk to other people, but it's through influencers like
Yes.
yourself that they're able to see that, oh, it's not a unique situation if I'm going through a challenge. It is universal,
Yes.
and that's part of life. We just dust it off
Yeah.
and put on big girl pants and move on.
Exactly. And that's why we felt like it's good to start such a platform for people out there to feel encouraged, because we were once in such a situation.
Yeah.
As a family, we were once in such a situation. I'm still in such a situation because my mom is not here. All my like my family is not here. So sometimes having such a conversation gives me encouragement and hoping that one day I'll just be like Julie. Oh, my mom is in Washington, or my mom is just around the US. I know I can take a flight in a few hours and be there with her and all that. So I really appreciate you for sharing all that. My family, YouTube family, I hope you're getting something. I hope you're learning. I hope you are entertained by today's conversation. I am looking forward to bring more of this, and I am still waiting for you. I'm going to be waiting for you to comment in the comment section. Tell us what you think. Tell us about your take home in our today's conversation, and I will be glad to be reading your comments in the next episode. In the meantime, I want you to do this. Please do me a favor. Go to that subscribe button. Please click. It's just free. Please do that. Let's build this community together. Let's grow it together. And I hope we are going to feel blessed by the conversation that we are having here. Okay, Julie, we are done for today. I'm looking forward to have you again. I hope we're gonna stay in touch and have more of this.
Yeah, we definitely will. Thank you, Liz, for having me. It's such an honor for me, and I wish you continued success.
Thank you.
And until next time.
Until next time. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye-bye for now.